Here I am again, back at Crane's Roost. Another lovely sunrise in Florida. But have 4 days off work. Had a vacation day yesterday, and this is my long weekend, like Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Way our pay periods work at the post office, like they start on Saturdays, and we have rotating days off. You know, so you'll have Monday one week, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and then the following week you'll have Friday and Saturday. You know, Friday counts as your day off for that one week, and then the next pay week starts the following day on Saturday. You know, so every like 5-6 weeks, whatever, you know, you get that long weekend, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And if you take vacation next to it, they can't force you to work your days off, even if you're on the overtime list. Kind of happy I did it. I was actually kind of hoping to sit around and watch some thunderstorms, which I love. Thunderstorms are pretty much my favorite thing in the world. Back when I lived out in Tornado Alley, I used to love hanging out on the porch and watching the tornadoes and thunderstorms kicking up while everybody else was hiding inside, you know. But haven't had much rain. Dropped my wife off at work today, and I thought, well, it's supposed to be really humid today, so 96% humidity, kind of miserable. I don't think we're going to get much rain. It's all been going south of us. South Florida's getting pummeled, you know. And try to find a place here where the sun won't be directly in my eyes when it finally comes up. Figured I'd get out early to my Crane's Roost spot and make a little video. We'll see what this place is like for right now until the sun pokes up over those trees. It's actually, I've got a tree between me and it right now. Put my little tripod up here on this gimbal. Let me see how this, there we go. But what I wanted to talk about today, I asked my wife the other day, I said, what can I make a video about, what topic? And she told me stupidity, so I was like, okay, I'm gonna make my stupidity video today. And she's like, no. But it is kind of a stupidity that I'm gonna talk about. I've been watching some of the hilarious videos on YouTube about all the backlash over Disney's latest attempt to destroy the Star Wars franchise with the Acolyte. My wife and I realized it was out the other day. We watched the first 2 episodes, and very disappointing. And as soon as you heard the reference to, you know, the girl's mothers instead of her parents in the first episode, you knew where they were headed. The people that are running it, you know, they're definitely pushing their agenda on things on the galaxy far, far away a long time ago to make it as much like today, or as much like Sodom and Gomorrah or whatever as they can, you know. And all the stuff I've seen about the 3rd episode, I don't really have any desire to even go watch it just to see how bad it is. You know, there's a curiosity about just how bad is it, but based on what I've seen from the clips and how disappointing the first 2 episodes were, I don't know that I'm going to waste any time messing with it. But there's a little squirrel, hi squirrel, sitting here watching me. But it brings up an interesting thought, and and that's what I was going to make the title of this video. You know, can pagan Mother Earth worship save us from toxic masculinity? Because that's what really all this is. You know, the male, especially these days, the white male, is the source of all evil in the world, and women, you know, the feminine energy has to save us, you know. And there's so much of that. I've seen so much of that in so many different areas. I remember a long time ago reading a magazine article. It was a Cosmopolitan, and there was an article talking about women, you know, turning to guns for self-defense. And basically what the gist of the article was, you know, that it was obviously written by some, you know, kind of like hardcore, you know, lesbian penis hater. And, you know, that basically guns are an extension of a man's penis, you know, which apparently is the tool of feminine oppression throughout the centuries. And how could any woman pick up a gun, which like it's like worshiping a penis? And if you're a lesbian penis hater, you know, you can't have that. And that was pretty much the gist of the article. You know, if you want to defend yourself as a woman, that's terrible, because then you're acting like a man or something. And so, you know, just to illustrate how that kind of stupidity runs deep through so many different channels in life, that, you know, a normal, rational person wouldn't even think that there's anything to talk about there. And yet, you know, sure enough, the people who are obsessed with this point of view can find a way to tie it in, as with any religion, you know, which is what it is. It's a religion. And it goes back deep in human history. You know, a lot of the ancient pagan religions, it was the worship of Mother Earth, you know, the feminine energy, and all the different fertility celebrations that we have. You know, even things that got carried on later into things, you know, into Christianity, for instance, like Easter. It was a fertility festival, you know. Even if you look at Christmas, it's with the evergreen trees and so forth, you know, that's you know, that was the basically with the sun god. You know, the days start getting longer, and the sun starts regaining its dominance. But you've got like the evergreen trees that are capable of staying alive even when everything else dies. There's that, you know, worship of like the, you know, the creation rather than the creator, which is basically what pagan religions were. You know, they developed all these, you know, mythical gods and so forth, but it was basically the worship of what had been created rather than the one who created it. That was the difference with when Judaism came along, and those ideas, you know, worshiping the one who made it all, and realizing that all these other things were just things, not gods. They weren't, you know, they weren't divine energy or something. They were things that had been made. You know, I think it's in Isaiah where it talks about a person cutting down a tree and using part of the wood to make a fire and cook their food, and then they take another part of the tree and carve an idol out of it and bow down to it and say, "You're my God," which just shows the stupidity of that kind of thinking. You know, it's a tree. It's a tree. It has no power. It's you know, something you can burn and cook your food with. It's not your God. You know, and but that worship of Mother Earth, and, you know, witchcraft, that kind of you know, Wiccan kind of stuff, that runs deep, especially within the lesbian community, which apparently is all episode 3 of the Acolyte is about, is the lesbian, you know, the lesbian communist space witches, as everybody's calling them. And you know, just from the clips I've seen of it, it looks pretty silly. But we're kind of at a point where a lot of people in our society, they're really trying to push that agenda. And sorry, just lining up the sun in that tree over there. And it's really kind of silly. You know, a lot of these people think that they're saving humanity from, you know, the toxic masculinity of the past and so forth. And really, this is something that goes in cycles in our world. A lot of people seem to think, though, that they are, you know, there's always this attitude that humans seem to have, that they are in the end phase of human history. The people who were here thousands of years ago thought it. Oh, there's a squirrel in my screen climbing up behind me, I see. You know, back in the early days of Christianity, they thought they were in the end phase of human history, basically. That with their, you know, the theology that came out of that, and everyone was going to be taken away into the heavens. They had to keep delaying it because it never happened, of course. You know, it's just like every time one of those prophecies isn't fulfilled, you know, the way that they have prophesied it to be or interpreted it, well, then you have to redo things, and oh, well, we were wrong about that, but now we have the real answer, you know. And so it's going to be in this year. or this generation or whatever. And every generation of people, especially you look at, say, hardcore fundamental Christians, for instance, they always are convinced that, well, this is it, this is the end. There are a lot of people in the Jewish community right now who feel that we are maybe in the end phases of things whenever the Jewish, the actual Jewish Messiah is going to appear. It's just a natural tendency that we have to feel that, okay, this is going to be the generation when everything happens. And really, you look at our times right now and what a lot of these people are trying to do, and they think that they are, kind of making the human race what it should be and saving us from this, there have been a lot of abuses by men throughout history, let's be honest. But the people who feel that they're going to save us, and that now instead of just one kind of person or lifestyle being considered normal or, the standard kind of thing, we have to celebrate every form of, every freak or perv, whatever kind of lifestyle it is they want to pursue. We have to act like that's just as normal and acceptable as any other kind of lifestyle, And they feel that by doing this, they're, bringing the human race into its end phase where it belongs, where it needs to be to really solve all our problems and let everyone be accepted for what they are. The sad thing is that this is something that people have felt a long time ago through history. I mean, I can't help wondering, you look back at the story of Sodom and Gomorrah, whether you want to think that was real or not. I mean, there've been plenty of times in human history where you've been free to live whatever kind of perverted lifestyle you wanted, Some of the people today who think they're so free-spirited and everything can't even imagine the kind of horrible perversions and evil that happened early in human history before we started to actually get a little bit of a grip on, the worst of our impulses. You look at things today and evil things happen, even in war and so forth. But do we actually go and, put a big wooden platform on the bodies of our captives when we capture a place, and then actually have everybody, the victors, come in and set up tables and have a meal on top of the platform while we're slowly crushing to death all the people that we captured below us? There's a lot of sick shit that happened in human history that people today just can't even imagine. Even warfare. Yeah, things can be pretty nasty when you're talking about warfare and all these hard metal machines that we have crushing human bodies just like running over a squirrel in the middle of the road, But combat in the old days used to be up close and personal, chopping people's arms off with swords and stuff and running them through with spears and lances. And today it's become more of a long distance remote control thing, You're kind of like punching holes through people from a distance. Hell, today you can sit on the other side of the planet and look at the screen and pilot a drone and have the drone kill people. You see a lot of footage from Ukraine, and they have their drone operators that are, dropping things on Russian soldiers and, like piloting the kamikaze drones into their bunkers and tanks and so forth. Humans will always find a way, of course, to kill each other more efficiently. But at the same time, it's gotten a lot less personal in some ways. It's not like in the old days where you were just right up on top of somebody, tooth and nail, running them through with a sword. And it's easy to forget just how far we've come in that way. That doesn't sound like progress, but what people are capable of dealing with today in terms of bloodshed and violence, we have no clue what it was like in millennia past, and what those people were capable of doing. The human race actually has progressed quite a bit in terms of getting away from some of the most violent, the kind of, I don't know what the real word would be to say, just the intimacy that people had with violence and hard times and hardship, and really the connection to the primitive, which we've gotten away from today. But there was that attitude in the past that you were worshiping the things around us instead of the one who made it all. And obviously a lot of people will say, well, it's just all an accident. There are people who are willing to believe that. But people in the old days, when I say old days, I'm talking like thousands of years ago, imagine what it would have been like to just be, freshly self-aware in this world. Look around you, everything would have seemed magical, The wind through the leaves would have seemed alive, would have been, like a spirit. That's, we talk about, even in Hebrew, the words for God's spirit, you're talking about like a wind, a breeze, the breath. And that's where all that comes from, And look around at the trees and the animals and everything that's going on, the sun, it all would have seemed so magical because they didn't have the centuries and centuries of human thought to fall back on that we have now, where we can look back and people have examined these things and actually done research and learned how things work. Unfortunately today it's gotten to the point where a lot of people feel, well, like we know so much about how things work that we can just like say there is no one running it all, there is no creator, and it all just happened, which is another great leap of faith. We've gotten to the point today where there are basically two different religions. One of them is it all just happened magically without any explanation. People try to pretend that they're giving you explanations that actually explain things, but no one has ever managed to do it yet in any kind of a mechanistic sense of this is how it works. They just say, oh, you go back to this point and then there was a singularity, and then, oh, but it really wasn't a singularity. It just popped out of a bubble and here we are, or some shit like that, And then you've got the other people who say, well, it was all created, and they'll have different explanations about how they think that went down. A lot of it is stuff that we just are not in a position, if we are honest with ourselves, to say that we know one way or the other. But there's always been, among certain segments of the population, this idea of kind of overthrowing the more recent kind of like Judaism, Christianity, later religions, and going back to that more primitive, Earth Mother kind of thing. And they feel that they're getting back more to the way things are really should be, the life force of the universe and what brought us forth. And in comparison to these other religions that they feel have been promoted by, toxic masculinity and, men down through the centuries. And especially today, like I say, it's, all these systems that have been set in place, they've become synonymous with white men taking advantage of everybody else. And so now we have to balance that out by, in the realm of entertainment, making everything, females of color and giving them all the power and everything, and denigrating the men. And even if you look at Disney, talking about the Force is female and stuff like that, it just comes around, it goes around. People think, though, that they just have that natural tendency to feel like this is it, this is the penultimate generation, and it's not. People are going to be here, with a little bit of luck at least, thousands and thousands of years from now. They're going to be looking back on our time, and they're going to be saying, oh my God, what was wrong with these people, If they still use the expression, oh my God, well, who knows? I'd like to be here to see that, find out for sure myself, but it's just kind of crazy. People don't realize that it's all still going. This is not the end. And all the little things they think are so important today, like they're going to save the human race from this or that. Who knows what it's going to be like? I better move away from the sun. Who knows what it's going to be like thousands of years from now? We have no clue. And it depends on who wins the culture wars and so forth, really. What would happen if, say, the most fundamentalist, radical versions of Islam were to win, like they want to? A couple thousand years from now, women might all be walking around covered up, and this feminine energy shit be nowhere to be heard of. We may, a couple thousand years from now, find out that we're back where we were before all this stuff happened, where people think that a man and a woman is normal and natural, and all this other stuff is just goofy nonsense or whatever. And all of the great heroes of this current generation's movement to overthrow things will have been forgotten, or they'll just be laughed at for how silly they are. We look at these things today, and people get so invested in it as if they are saving the human race, and they have no clue. They don't know what they're doing. It's just so arrogant for us to think that we're the ones with all the answers. We compared, to humans 5,000 years ago, people 5,000 years in the future are going to look at us the exact same way. They're going to say, these people didn't know anything. Look at these stupid things they did. You look around today at these people who just worship the act of killing their own children like it's some kind of sacred rite. And if you think there's something wrong with it, well, then you're the one with the problem. I wonder what it would be like if an alien race came down here. If we were to find out that there were all kinds of alien life out there, and they showed up here, and they looked around, and they saw the way we act, the way we murder each other over stupid shit, the way we murder our own unborn children before they even have a chance to come out of the womb. Would they look at us and just think, oh my God, how disgusting and depraved this species is? They could see a lot of this stuff, and they would not think that we're any kind of advanced beings. They would not think we're doing anything noble. They would just think that we're sick, But anyways, I guess those are my rambling thoughts on this whole issue of all this stuff that's going on today. We're never going to see the end of it. The cycles go round and round. And you're always going to have, like your, like contingent of, lesbian space witches, even if we're not in space right now. Go back to the Wiccan pagan beliefs, celebrating the feminine energy of life and so forth. And it's going to be in conflict with, the evil men of this planet, the toxic masculinity. And the important thing to realize is that it's a belief system. It's a religion. This stuff you see, even though these people are running around our streets, protesting everything and talking about how there is no God or whatever, they are worshiping a religion. It's an ancient, very, very ancient, primitive pagan religion. But it's been around forever. And you're always going to have that contingent that thinks that the only way to save the human race is to let the women run everything. I used to read stuff like that when I was young. If women ran everything, how much more wonderful life would be. We wouldn't have to worry about nuclear war. We wouldn't have to worry about all these conflicts and so forth. And when you're young and romantic and naive, it's easy to read that stuff and think, yeah, that's true. I always liked women a lot more than men. I don't find men to be all that interesting, honestly. I mean, through the years, I've had some good friends and stuff, but I have no interest in hanging out with other men all the time and listening to their bullshit or whatever. It's nice to hang out and watch a football game and stuff sometimes, but I quickly get tired of all that nonsense. And women have always been more interesting to me, just from an emotional point of view and so forth. And, that's who I prefer to be with. I don't really need that many people around. I'm happy with my wife, you know, and having her around, but other than that, I'm generally content to be reading a book or something rather than hanging out with other people. And anybody who really thinks that, though, that the world would be better if women were running anything, as you get older and you actually get to know women and have been around some of them, you think to yourself, oh my God, how stupid was I to ever think that's true? Because, man, some of these women are crazy. And the idea that to have one gender or the other running things is going to be better, you know, everybody's the same. They have the same ideas, same kind of emotions, and so forth. And but some of these women right now, man, they're pretty crazy, including the ones who made the Acolyte. They've just destroyed the Star Wars franchise. It's gotten worse and worse and worse. Apparently, they feel the need to impose their current religious beliefs and what they want to proselytize about onto a galaxy far, far away, a long time ago. Instead of just making good movies, it's kind of depressing. I wonder all the wasted billions of dollars and the time and the movies that they could have made if they hadn't just been interested in trying to tear down the franchise instead of further it, you know? Because ever since Disney bought that, they've just been going out of their way to try and tear down the Star Wars mythology and everything. And of course they think they're doing the world a favor, but I think the hundreds of millions of dollars they're losing right now on this new one, I don't know if that'll wake them up or not, because people who believe that they are on a sacred mission to promote a certain religion and to push a certain point of view, logic doesn't really work with them, you know? It doesn't matter which kind of religion it is. It could even be an ancient pagan, Wiccan, lesbian religion, and logic is still not going to prevail. But anyways, those are my ever so exciting thoughts on that. This video has gone on quite long. I might still go ahead and post it anyways, though. If people feel like watching it, they can.